Good, man. How are you?
Doing all right. I'm sure you've been doing several questioning this morning, but it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. You have an incredible slate of productions on your resume and in the works, especially with as your role as president for David E. Kelly Productions. And I'm wondering, how did you first come across the Abraham series, and what made you want to bring it to television?
Yeah, that came across David's desk. You never know how a project's going to come about. Sometimes I'll lay eyes on it. Sometimes someone in our office will, an agent. David had gotten the book through a friend and eventually met with Cachette Studios. But he said, you got to meet this character. It wasn't even you got to read this book. It was from jump, from page one before it even finished the story. It was Avi and his love for Avi that was immediately apparent that made David feel like we had to tell the story. And from the moment I picked it up as well, it was just a character I'd never seen before. And that's pretty rare these days to come across something like that. And we just felt like we had to do it.
So, what was it that jumped out on the page for you about Avi?
On the surface, it's a cop show, obviously, but he leads unlike any other cop, and that's with empathy. We've had an incredible 10 years or so in this country of a lot of really icky and bad behavior in real life and on the screen as well. We have cops who are corrupt. And I think Avraham is different. And if we do our job right, there's a hope at the end of the day of this series. And there's also the hope that we can maybe inspire a few more Avrahams to exist in the world and to lead with empathy and humanity rather than, perhaps violence.
How hard was it to choose the right actor to play this character?
It's not hard at all because Jeff is Avraham. Often you do sort of they're like cattle calls sometimes where you're meeting so many different actors who can bring many different things to the table that could possibly work for the series. But Jeff was someone that immediately it was like meeting Avraham. And in so many ways, he was more Avraham than Avraham was. And because of his background, the authenticity he could bring to the character, it was just a no-brainer. I think he was like the third person we considered and maybe the second person we actually met with. And so the search didn't last very long. It just was when something fits, it fits. And so we went with him.
You said that you hope that it's something a little different in leading with empathy. And I also noticed that it's not he's not a woke detective. He does things like he relies on physical touch, not in
Mm-hmm.
any odd way, but kind of in the way that good people used to rely on it with handshakes and a warm hand on the shoulder, just a welcoming thing. What do you hope that that brings back to the table by way of discussion and in our humanity? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think you know what
Well, I
you
think
know what I'm
the
asking.
word warm is perfect, and I think it's gone missing a lot these days. There's also a distance we feel from one another, especially like you and I are talking through Zoom. 4 years
Right.
ago, we would be in person having this conversation, and so I think what's gone missing in a way, and that was the original title of the series and of the book, is The Missing File. And before it got changed to The Calling for various clearance issues, it was The Missing. And what was missing in the world was warmth and touch of just your neighbor or someone else to empathize with what they might be going through and understanding that even if someone doesn't look like you or practice your religion, that it's okay to have a dialogue with them about those things and those differences. But at the end of the day, to see those similarities, I think is really powerful. And what the Janine character on the show really is, it's the audience's look at Avi and at this world. And through her eyes, we see this guy who probably is a little mysterious, a little odd to us when we first meet him. But I think you've seen 4 episodes. By episode 8, you should really feel like this guy, I really want to be in the care of this guy as a friend and as someone who needs a detective at some point in my life. I would want, Avraham at the helm.
I haven't read the books, but I'm wondering, is Janine a character in the books? And how
Well,
closely related are they in the series?
I would say the office structure is somewhat there in the books, but the Janine Avi relationship is something that was necessitated to bring the show to screen and to bring the audience in. With a book, you're sitting with a page. It's a different experience, and it's wholly great in and of its own right. But we needed a character who was going to serve as the audience's eyes and ears as we get to know Avraham. And so that was David digging into that character.
I really like her character because from the outside looking in, she's kind of brash and
Mm-hmm.
a little too full of herself. And yet, to use that word again, she's actually a very warm person who is very eager to learn whatever she can from him. It's a really unique relationship, I think.
Yeah, I hope that relationship goes for several seasons. We'll see, but that you can tell as many cop stories as you want, but at the end of the day, the real sort of sustenance to any series like this is going to be that character to character relationship, and not so much the actual crimes. And so we think we have something special with the two of them.
Were there any other mystery police detective type stories that you looked at while building this one, and with that
Um,
partnership especially?
I think only in the respect of what could we do differently. We didn't emulate anything and say, oh, we like this, so let's do the same thing. I think we looked at what cop shows were on the air, what cop shows we liked, whether that was 30 years ago or a character on a cop show 20 years ago that we thought we liked, and what could we do slightly differently in spirit of what that likeness was, but at the same time trying to do something a little bit new, a little bit different. And again, that's why Avraham, in a moment where you don't think he's going to use violence, uses violence, and in a moment where you think he may use violence, uses his connection, his humanity, and we want to take those left turns when the audience is expecting a right.
And you also have the great Barry Levinson directing some episodes. What is it like? What is it like in working with him, and what did he add to the production?
Yeah, well, as a company, I think foremost, David E. Kelly Productions, we believe in letting people do their job. When Barry came in, it wasn't like, here's the show David wants to do. How can Barry do that? It was very much, we love his work. For someone whose career has been so long, it's really amazing how different each of his productions are in tone and scope and character. And so he's a chameleon in that sense. And I can't believe we haven't worked together before. And here's the script, and what do you want to do with it? And he really brought it to life from page to screen in a way we couldn't have ever imagined, in ways that we so love. And he brought Hans Zimmer into the mix, which is just an embarrassment of riches at the end of the day to have him scoring it. And that was all thanks to Barry.
Great. Thank you so much for talking with me today. Have a lovely
Thank
day.
you. Have a great day. Thanks.
Bye bye.